What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are back with career mode, episode number 46 for the British Grand Prix. Make sure you check out the last episode if you haven't already. It was an absolute stinker. Yes, it was probably the worst Grand Prix imaginable, the worst weekend ever, really, from a luck perspective. I put it all down to the cursed Arava livery. So we're going to swiftly put that in the bin and never touch it again. Back to the trusty Razor TMDK livery, which we've come to know and love on this channel. So, heading into this race, I think we got a few more upgrades on the horizon. We had a few failures last time, so hopefully we'll amend those, get them on the car. There's a few little niggly upgrades, which will hopefully make a big difference. Nothing to do in the way of downforce upgrades. We've maxed out the aero department, so that's nice to see. We can do fuel efficiency, but we probably have to rush that. ERS, though, that looks a little bit more attractive in terms of a upgrade worth doing. So we're going to do that. We're going to rush it in so that we can get it on in time for the British Grand Prix. At this point, when we've got so few upgrades to do, we may as well rush them in because we don't really need the resource points anymore. So we're going to fast forward time and we're going to see what's what. Oh my goodness. That makes a lot of sense. Alex Gillen has been working on my engine. How long has this been going on for? Now everything makes complete sense. No wonder we've had 3 retirements this season. We're being sabotaged from the inside. Lovely stuff. Anyway, we're going to give Rosberg some extra focus for this upcoming race. He's been a bit down in the dumps mentally, it seems. So hopefully we can help him dig out that poor form and get him where he needs to be. We're going to do a brake upgrade, which did fail last time. I think we rushed that too, but it didn't work. Like I said, resource points are not at a premium anymore. Time is against us, so we may as well rush these upgrades in. And if they fail, then we're not really missing out on much because we can still get it on in time for the next race after this, which it would have been on for anyway. So we may as well have the added risk of having something on in time for this race. And it looks like it's paid off because we have actually caught up to the top 4 teams. We are arguably in touching distance or in striking range. We are close enough to the point where I think we can actually beat some of these guys on track now. So that is something to look forward to for not only this race, but hopefully now for the rest of the season as we are finally seeing out the true potential of this car. But unfortunately, we're going to the British Grand Prix, which is probably the most OP circuit for the AI. So it's going to be quite tricky to mix it with these guys. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, Friday practice is underway, and already we're getting stuck into the action with a tasty little battle with Ocon, I believe. In the end, we get P7. 5/10 off the likes of the Ferraris, who are actually pretty strong now in this phase of the career mode. They are sneaking up towards the front of the grid, it has to be said. Engine-wise, with that retirement last race, we kind of got screwed over because we lost our second control electronics unit, and now we only have one left, which is at 63% wear. And we're not even halfway through this season, so we're actually going to have to take a grid penalty for this race because we can't be running with a very worn control electronics unit. So we're going to change it. If we don't, then it basically wears every other component inside the power unit even faster. So we don't want that. We want a fresh control electronics to look after the rest of the car. Anyway, that's the early part of the weekend done. Time for qualifying now for the British Grand Prix. Oh man, I need some luck. Right then, it is time for probably the least anticipated qualifying session of the season. Not looking forward to this one at all. we're up against it in this race. We are going to have a grid penalty as well for this race, so not much emphasis required on qualifying, I'd have to say. If we can get somewhere towards the top 10, then that's good enough in my books. If anything, maybe if I can aim for P11, then get a 5-place penalty, then that's probably the best case scenario. Starting around P16, bit of a moment out of turn 1. You can see the tyres are already overheating, which is another issue, which further compounds the lack of pace around here. The AI are very, very fast at high-speed corners. Silverstone littered with them. So it's a bit tricky to get in the mix with these guys. But going again for another lap. Had a cool down after the tyres overheated, and yeah, we're going to see if there's any more life in this set of tyres. I think it's a good way to go. We're at a point where tyre wear doesn't affect the tyres too much, so you can do longer runs on each set. So cooling them out is actually a good strategy, and it pays off because we improve by a 10th on our second run. Into P12, into Q2, more importantly, and right in that range where I probably want to be, right on the edge of the top 10. So as long as we can keep that up for the rest of the weekend, then we'll be golden. And we have done so. P11, perfectly placed for the British Grand Prix tomorrow. We're going to take the 5-place penalty, start from P16, and I did so by actually using the medium compound tyres. So there we go. We're going to take the 5-place penalty. We're going to overtake some of the lower midfield runners in the first couple laps, and then hopefully that penalty will basically mean nothing. Anyway, time for the race.
So, unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties, and we'll be starting further back than you expect. As for how bad it is, that'll depend on what the other drivers get.
Welcome along then to Great Britain and the Great Silverstone circuit for today's Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Lewis Hamilton and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz, Rosberg and Pierre Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Nicholas Latifi and Vettel, Armstrong, Benjamin, Lance Stroll and George Russell, Tigtum, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Thank you, Jeff. I will try not to. Welcome to the grid, guys, of the British Grand Prix. I think, controversially, from this position, I'm actually not going to use the medium compound tyres. We're going to start on the softs, and we're going to try and cut through some of the slower cars early, because I really want to hang on to the coattails, I don't know what the saying is, of the race leaders. I don't think I've got the pace of those guys, so I need to be close enough to them to nab their DRS. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the British Grand Prix. Armstrong, my former teammate, getting off to a better start, which is absolutely no surprise to anyone. Round the outside we go of Sebastian Vettel. It'll turn to the inside if we can get underneath him at turn 3. We get many drivers into there, actually making contact with Pierre Gasly. I don't want to be doing that too many times. Contact with Armstrong on our left-hand side, round the outside of not one, but maybe 2 Alpines here, side by side, and we take P10 with a cheeky track limit warning in the process. That was well and truly worth it there. Rosberg getting tangled up with the Ferraris. What's going on there? They should be a little higher up than that. That is interesting to see. But the top 3 teams, top 4 teams, are literally separated by nothing. It just comes down to setup now and just, I guess, nailing the lap on the day. But yeah, we're holding station pretty well up against Pierre Gasly behind. He did have a little bit of a run at me in the previous right-hand up, but we managed to fend him off for now, waiting for DRS now, as that's going to be the true indicator of what the overtaking is going to be like today. Rosberg trying to go up the inside into Stowe. Can't quite make that stick, and we get the better drive traction around the outside into the Club and Vale section. It turns the inside for this part, and that is job done. How many spots have we gained? 7? 7 spots on the first lap? Well, I don't really see Silverstone as an overtaking track because we're simply flat out most of it. To get that many positions is actually nothing short of a miracle, as Rosberg tries to have a little sneaky look up the inside. Rosberg is on his noters, by the way. He's been pretty poor in the last half a dozen races, and we've got this one potentially Hungary as well before his contract mid-season is up. So he better impress today. He better get some big points and work collectively as a team to get past these Ferraris. So that's exactly what we're going to do. P9, lap 2, 24 to go, and still much more that can play out in this British Grand Prix. So for now, the goal is just to try and catch up to Sainz now. We got his DRS, thankfully, so we're able to hang on to him. But he's going to be pretty pacey towards the end of his first stint. Look at the understeer out of Brooklands. Brooklands? Luffield. Luffield is the corner. I'm not the best at the corner names at Silverstone, but I'm slowly getting better. Here's the rundown of where the race leaders are at. Max Verstappen leading the way. Valtteri Bottas there in P2. Both of those guys on medium compound tyres, so they are absolutely in control at the moment. But the guys on softs who have to stop early might well rejoin in some traffic, because there's clearly a gulf between the front of the field and then the rest. There's Formula 1 and then there's Formula 1.5 from the Aston Martins down. So if the AI, the leaders, they don't play their cards right, they could emerge in the thick of that train. And I hope, for my sake, that they're all on mediums, they're going to run long. So we'll wait and see how it all plays out. But I'm planning or thinking of running long, or at least that was the plan pre-race, to try and maybe overcut that traffic as we go around the outside of Carlos Sainz, who's not really got the pace at the moment. Bit of contact through Brooklands, but we do get the move done into P8 now in this British Grand Prix, getting a massive slide on the soft compound tyres. I can ill afford to be doing that. Here's the replay around the outside. We both kind of just met in the middle there. I'd probably say fault is equally on both of us there as we drifted into each other's line. But yeah, there we go. We have taken P8 once again. Rosberg has moved up in a P9. Gasly also displaces the Ferrari. And we are now through in some clear air. So, oh my goodness. Okay, I think I might box now. I think I might genuinely box. Because this is painful. The soft compound tyres are offering nothing up against the race leaders. And I know they're in better cars, but they're only slightly better than us. But I'm just not getting the most out of this tyre. It's overheating, especially the working hand side of the car, the left-hand side. So we're going to chuck on the mediums, and hopefully they can switch on a little bit better, because these softs were just struggling. They weren't holding on temperature-wise, which was holding us back. We weren't doing too bad in terms of tyre wear, but yeah, just the raw pace just wasn't there. So we're going to try something different in the hopes of undercutting the race leaders and getting in the mix. Because if we played the long game on the softs, well, the longer we stayed on that tyre, the less and less we were in contention. We were just getting left for dead by the race leaders. And here they are. Into the pit lane are the soft compound tyre runners, including my teammate. There is one of the Alpines retiring from the Grand Prix. That is Esteban Ocon. I wouldn't mind a cheeky safety car to get me out of trouble here, but it doesn't look like that is the case. As we rejoin with the action on lap 11, we can see my teammate rejoining on the circuit, only marginally behind us, but crucially on a few lap fresher tyres. So it's actually going to be pretty tricky to keep him behind for the rest of this race. Hopefully Rozzy B can work with us to maybe catch up to the next group of cars. This is Giovinazzi, who hasn't stopped yet. Very brave lunge up the inside into what is only a very light braking zone. So I was a bit nervous about that one. Thankfully, Giovinazzi saw me coming and we're able to get the move done with relative ease there. Russell up next. Again, he's part of that crew who hasn't stopped yet. Now amending that situation. So again, it's P8. The undercut worked a little bit, but not to the drastic amount that I was hoping. I think maybe realistically I needed to stop around lap 4, lap 5. If I wanted to maybe be in contention with the race leaders, I would have had to put in some insane laps on the medium compound tires. But hey, that's a super aggressive strategy. It took me a little while to figure out that the softs really weren't the tire to be on, and by the time we did, it was a little bit too late. We didn't have the pace at the early stage, but now that we're getting into the flow of this race a little bit more, our pace relative to those guys ahead are actually pretty similar. We're only within a tenth or two of those guys, especially now that they're battling. We're starting to reel in that gap to the next group of cars. This is Leclerc versus Ricciardo. Ricciardo, who only just came out of the pit lane. That's a nice lap car. Literally coming to a stop to get out of the way. If only they were that courteous in practice and qualifying sessions. But I digress. Anyway, 6 laps to go. Rosberg is now getting a bit too big for his boots and overtakes his team boss. I hope he knows what he's doing. I hope he knows his career is on the line and taking points off of his team boss in a scenario that's not going to help him is not the thing to do. As you can see, not Rosberg, Bottas out of the Grand Prix in the Mercedes. At least that's another position gain for the two of us. I'll see if I can get past Rosberg once again. But this in-house squabbling is not productive whatsoever. Let's just take the position back, because why the hell not? Bye-bye. Thank you very much. P7, 6 points. Ideally, I wanted to be in the top 5 today, but we haven't really had the pace. Understandably, this is not a strong track for me, not a strong track for the car. Norris is getting screwed over massively by the lap car, and that's allowing the Red Bull of Verstappen, I believe, to just run away with this race. So that could be GG's for the hometown hero. Now he's getting overtaken by the other Red Bull. It's a Red Bull 1-2 now, with Sergio Perez going round the outside of Lando Norris at that very corner. That is a large yikes. Again, another lap car in the way. Thankfully, both Haas's have their mirrors or their racing brains switched on today, which is lovely to see. 2 laps to go, and it looks like an impossible task to catch these guys unless they have an almighty shunt into one of these corners. This is Ricciardo on the soft compound tires, struggling to make work of these guys, but I think he's just about doing the job now as he goes round the outside of Charles Leclerc into the old turn 1. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can. He's a very brave man. Last lap of the Grand Prix, and we are just consolidating this place now. Rosberg right behind me now, and as you guys know, with the AI, they have their super ERS on the last lap or two, so it's going to be tricky to keep him behind. You can see I'm on overtake as well, and look at how much Rosberg is catching me. It's almost like he's got an extra ERS mode over me. It's quite ridiculous. So might need to look into that one. Perhaps I'm being excluded from certain performance meetings. But regardless, up into overtake, using the grass, no less, to absolutely maximize the track width and the exit speed. Rosberg is out of ERS as he goes round the outside on the last lap, unable to make the move stick. And we are just about going to hold on to P7 in this Grand Prix. But I tell you what, Rosberg has really made me work for it today. He's really made me sweat. 6 points. Not enough.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Not enough, unfortunately, but you can't expect miracles when you start P16. We'll take the points.
Well, they've done a brilliant job, I must say, under some intense pressure to take a well-earned victory here at the British Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
Maybe one day we'll get a win. at this very venue in career mode, but that day is not today. GG's to the Red Bulls. They were pretty sublime. All throughout the race, they were setting some pretty beastly fastest laps of the Grand Prix. And quite the substantial win for Verstappen, pulling out 6 seconds in the final 10 laps there. I don't know what happened to Lando after that lap car got in the way, but that just kind of ruined his momentum, his flow. Perez got past him and then was kind of a sitting duck for the rest of it. Daniel Ricciardo, good recovery to get back up into 4th place after starting on the medium compound tyre. But yeah, it was a race where the majority of it was kind of sorted in the early laps. We thankfully overtook so many cars on that opening lap. We got to, what was it, 9th? 9th at the end of lap 1. And then for the rest of the race, we only gained 2 spots. And I think those final 2 spots only came because of DNFs. Certainly, well, one of them was a DNF with Bottas not making it to the end. So, yeah, tough Grand Prix. Good battle with our teammate, which was actually quite respectful, to be fair. But certainly not productive. We need to go back to the drawing board. We're pretty much maxed out this car now in terms of performance. So, we either need a better setup for Silverstone, or we need to change the way we approach this circuit. I probably did go a little conservative for this race. I was struggling for rear end stability with the aggressive setup that I did have. It was a time trial setup, so I had to, I guess, balance it out in some areas, but it just felt kind of, I don't know, weird in this Grand Prix. We had understeer but oversteer at times. The balance was just not there. That was a great move on the opening lap. Can't fault the racecraft today, but we just lacked pace, which was the biggest thing. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Silverstone is always a tough race. In fact, the toughest race on the entire calendar. And we still had a pretty decent result considering where we started. We move on to Hungary next, which is actually a really strong track for us. So hopefully we can take some points away from Max in that very race. But we're going to need to pull out all the stops to do so. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys for a brand new episode of Career Mode very soon.